Good evening, everyone. I'm actually very happy to speak to an audience that comes from 6 different continents and 50 plus nations. So let's talk about something we care. We care about our children, and we are concerned about how they are going to live and thrive in this world when we have a looming disaster, looming threat called climate change. Climate change is not a theory in a textbook. It's a lived reality. My friends from Indonesia can attest me that parts of Jakarta are sinking and may be lost to rising sea level in our lifetime. My colleagues from Solomon Islands and small island nations can back me up when I say that they are the most vulnerable population from climate risks. So today, my story is about this threat called climate change, and I'm also going to talk about a solution that can solve the 40% of climate change problem. The solution lies in something we depend on every single second of our lives, but we rarely think about it. It's called electricity. Bill Gates, in his book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, wrote that if a genie offered him one wish to fix one sector in order to solve climate change, he said he would choose electricity. Not trees, not cars, not factories, electricity. At first, I wondered why. To understand this, allow me to introduce you to the real villain of climate change. CO2. CO2 accounts for about 80% of global greenhouse gas emissions. It traps heat like a blanket around the earth, and it is the biggest driver of global warming. So the question is, where does this CO2 comes from? Vehicles, factories, agriculture, yes, they all matter. But the single biggest contributor to this real villain is electricity and power generation. When we burn coal and gas to light up our homes and offices, we release more CO2 than anything else humans do. To fix this, countries have come together and they have committed to net zero. Japan and EU have committed to become net zero by 2050. Germany and Sweden committed to become net zero by 2045. Net zero is a very important climate pledge. And it's not about zero emissions. It's about a balance. CO2 in should be equal to CO2 out. And since the biggest source of CO2 is electricity, net zero at its heart is an electricity story. But if you think about your future, our dependence on electricity is going to rise exponentially. Countries and economies like Africa, South Asia, India, Central Asia, and other developing nations, they need to consume lots and lots of power to reach a developed nation, to become a developed nation. And at the same time, let me tell you, there is a silent revolution happening in our world, which we may not be aware. And the revolution is called sector coupling. So the sector which were traditionally reliant on other fuels are being coupled to electricity. Your cars becoming electric cars, your cooking becoming electric cooking, and your industries are getting electric furnaces. So everything is being plugged in. And let me introduce you to the real monster of our lifetimes, data centers. When it comes to climate, every time you use Google Maps watch YouTube video, or talk to ChatGPT, a huge data center somewhere around the world is consuming millions of units of power to serve you that information. To give you the context, if we put all the data centers together across the world, they consume as much as electricity as the entire nation of Japan. And our times, our future will have more data centers. So our dependence on electricity will rise, will surge. Now, talking about the solutions. We want to fix the 40% of climate change problem. The solution is very simple. Clean your electricity. In fact, we are cleaning our electricity sector. Presently, globally, 20 to 30% of our electricity needs come from renewable sources. This figure was almost zero 15 years ago. Renewable sources mean solar power, solar plants, wind turbines and hydropower plants. They are like nature's power plant. They don't emit anything. They don't fight with the climate. But like every good solutions, it comes with challenges. Because sometimes nature rests. Sometimes sun is not shining and winds are not blowing. And that brings us to the two core challenges of renewable energy integration. They can be categorized into time problem and a distance problem. It's very simple. So, sun shines during the day, but we need electricity even at the night. So, how to solve time problem? At the same time, we have a distance problem. We have to move the clean energy from the source of generation to the source of demand, because not every place can support clean energy. The solution, the obvious solution to time problem is very simple: storage. Why don't you store the extra power during the day and use it at night? Like, if I buy too much rice, I can store it. If I made too much pizza, I can put it in the fridge. But electricity is different. And let me share a fascinating thing for all the MBA and economics students sitting here. This is a sector with zero inventory. The demand and supply curve have to match every second. So when you go to your room and turn on the lights, at that exact moment, a power plant is generating a little bit extra for you. Not a second earlier and not a second later. But we are betting on storage, and the most viable and most promising solution we have are batteries. They are still expensive to the scale that we need, but the good news is the battery costs have fallen by 90% in 1 decade. It is considered to be the fastest, the biggest cost drops in the history of technology. So, in the future, cities like Tokyo, cities like Niigata will have batteries the size of a building, storing the extra clean energy during the day and supporting the people, supporting the power needs during the night. And let me tell you, there is something we also can do to solve time problem. In future, you may receive a message like, hey, sun is shining, power is clean, charge your EV or use your washing machine. This is called shifting the load. Instead of forcing the grid to follow us, we can follow the sun a little bit. Millions of tiny decisions can help deployment of clean energy across the world. Now comes the distance problem. In afternoon in Spain, sometimes they have so much of abundant solar power, the prices of electricity goes to zero, and they are unable to transmit this extra power to far places like Sweden, Denmark, Norway, because they need it. But powerful ideas are emerging. International Solar Alliance led by India, has proposed a project, One Sun, One World, One Grid, founded on the principle that sun never sets in the world, aims to connect the whole world in one grid. So imagine solar power from India powering Africa, wind energy from Australia powering lightning Japan at night. Another powerful idea is coming from US, a company called SunTran. SunTran plans to transport power in trains loaded with batteries. Each train carries enough power to power a town. These solutions tell us how the world is rethinking the time and distance problem. Now, before I conclude, let me share a very impactful story. In 2022, in Ukraine, during the Russian-Ukraine war, power plants were targeted. Neighborhoods went dark for days. People were cut off from the world. But something unexpected happened. Government deployed small solar rooftops panels, enough to keep the children warm, enough to keep the mobile phones charged. This taught us a very important lesson. Clean energy is also about safety, dignity, and reliability. So net zero is not just a climate story, and it's not just a carbon story. Net zero at its heart is an electricity story. Thank you so much.